Significant lore bombs in Genshin Impact are rare. About as rare as like a cow giving you a reach around during an eclipse. I don't know. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's magical. So you can imagine my surprise when we got not one but two bits of information regarding the most secretive person in Genshin Impact, the Third Descender. To recap, let's go over what a Descender is and who they are. A Descender is a term used to describe someone who lives, lived, in Teyvat despite not being originally from Teyvat. In all of Teyvat's history, the Fatui have listed 4 recorded individuals that meet these requirements. The first Descender is the Primordial One, or Phanes, who created the Heavenly Principles which currently rules Teyvat. The second Descender is most likely the second who came. Like his name suggests, he came after Phanes, fought a war versus him, and ended up losing. His identity could be that of the one who calls himself a sinner.
Oh dear creature, why do you bow down? For I am no god, I am but a sinner.
The fourth Descender is the Traveler. For nearly a year after we learned of the Descenders, there was no information regarding the third Descender whatsoever. Until now, in which we learn this from Skirk.
Of course. How could I forget? You should have the remains of the third Descender on your person, yes?
Remains? I've never heard of any such thing.
According to your parlance, I believe it may be called a gnosis.
Well, that much is true. After Focalor's divinity faded, she handed her gnosis to me. But I fear I have never heard of it described in the manner that you just did. This third Descender you refer to, who are they? And when did they die?
Master never mentioned them to me.
Okay, thank you, Mummy. Furthermore, Neuvillettes' story on Visions also provides some more information regarding the third Descender. Severely wounded in the Great War of Vengeance, the Usurper had their functions ruined and could no longer use their absolute authority to suppress the original order of this world. To continue to subdue and control the resentments and loathing of the world, the Usurper and the one who came after created the Gnosis together. So it came to be that an order was made to be upheld, and thus did humans come to only possess these 7 remembrances, and all fragments of the Primordial were driven to devour each other. Side note, I'm assuming this was written horribly, or that there was some sort of translation error, and that the one who came after is talking about the third Descender and not the second who came. Because if it's the second who came, then this story makes no sense, man. Bro, the story makes no sense if it's talking about the second who came, man. Anyway, moving on. This is interesting, because from Skirk's point of view, the Gnosis were created using the remains of the third Descender in a manner that implied that they were killed and is dead. However, the story tells us something that, while not contradicting Skirk's accounts, paints a new light on the whole ordeal. Following the Great War with the Second who came, Teyvat was shaken to its core. Both the heavens and the earths were completely destroyed, and it was this war that caused Ankonomia to vamoosh beneath the surface. Succeeding the end of the war, we knew that the Primordial One casted down the divine nails to repel the abyssal power that had corrupted the land. However, now we know that's not all it did. Following the war, Phanes was left severely wounded and could no longer use its absolute authority to keep down the original order of this world. This, of course, being the Sovereigns. So in turn, he and the one who came after created the Gnosis together. Remember, this is from the point of view of the ancient Hydro Sovereign, to ensure that the New World Order remains the status quo. Originally, it sounded as if the heavens had slaughtered the third Descender to create the Gnosis, and while it may be true, now we know that if they died to create the Gnosis, it was more as a sacrifice. I think even more shocking than the news about the third Descender, however, is Phanes being left extremely weakened after the war. This implies that somehow the second who came was even more dangerous than all the Sovereigns combined. But because it was called the Great War of Vengeance, it really does make me wonder if the second who came was the Dragon King Nibelung souped up on the forbidden knowledge. But still, the fact remains that there are cracks in the armor of the Heavenly Principles, and the firmament isn't nearly as unbeatable as we're led to believe. It also makes sense, however, why then they banned the book before Sun and Moon and why they seem to go cowabunga on Conria, but enough about that. Who is the third Descender and why would they help the Heavenly Principles? To be frank, we have no idea. But we can try and answer it. When talking with Neuvillettes, he makes this point.
I had guessed that you might already be familiar with this concept, but I did not expect you to be one of them. That means that the Gnosis, which are exceedingly element compatible and can even enhance elemental abilities, do indeed come from the third Descender. I wonder, does your body also possess similar properties?
Like being able to use elemental powers without a vision. That does sort of count as special compatibility, right?
So it seems whoever the third descender was also compatible with this world's elements similar to that of the Traveler. Currently, the Traveler seems to be the only person in Teyvat who's capable of this level of elemental manipulation. While the gods of this land, such as Morax and Barbados, have great control over their own elements, they are only privy to that specific power, whereas the Traveler can wield all of them. Presumably, so could the third descender, which is why their remains are the basis for the Gnosis. So it seems like both the Traveler and the third descender share similar properties in this regard. Barring nothing dramatic has happened to the Traveler's Sibiling, we can also assume they bear the same elemental capability as the Traveler. One more point about the Traveler's power, Celestia seems to be aware of the nature of the Traveler's original power, as the Traveler himself currently has a seal placed on him following his confrontation with the Sustainer. Furthermore, the Traveler also seems to not only recognize but assess that something is amiss with Teyvat's innate power, as he had this reaction when resonating with the Statue of the Seven for the first time.
Did you just feel the elements of the world? Seems all you had to do was just touch the statue and you got the power of animal. As much as they may want it, people in this world can never get a hold of powers as easily as you.
The second thing we know about the third descender is that they arrived onto Teyvat thousands and thousands of years ago. Combining these 2 points and trying to come up with an already known figure in Teyvat's lore is tough, but it just so happens that there could be one. The figure I'm referring to is the Unknown Creator. For those unaware, in the Traveler's bio it states this: "The Keeper is fading away, the Creator has not yet come, but the world shall burn no more, for you shall ascend." I'd always assumed myself that the Creator here might be mentioned to the Primordial One and they had some sort of relation, as it created most of what we see here in Teyvat, but what if it isn't? What if the twins had an entirely different Creator who they are currently waiting for but will never arrive because they are dead? It always struck me as interesting that despite traveling through many worlds and seeing no doubt many different conflicts, this one somehow became personal for them. Or for one of them, I should say. The one who knows the truth of this world. Let's not forget that when they reunited for the first time, the Traveler was ready right then and there to up and leap to Teyvat, but the Sibling was adamant about seeing this through to the end and stated that once you complete your journey, you too will come to understand once you find out the truth of this world. Could it be because they know that part of the truth of the world is that their creator's remains are being used to stifle this world's original order? For those wondering why then they didn't just relay this information to the Traveler, probably for the same reason they didn't tell them whatever the hell the truth of the world is, and that's plot. Venturing into the realm of aliens created the crop circles type beat, if you disregard the thousands and thousands of years time skip, which is a big ask I know, but hear me out, another potential candidate for the third descender is the Abyss Sibiling. As stated earlier, they most likely bear the same elemental capabilities as the third descender, and this could help to explain once again why this mission seems personal to them. This theory, first and foremost, requires you to have an open mind, so open your mind for me. But most importantly, for the Sibiling to be dead. And they very well could have died, but then been reborn in Teyvat, explaining why there's recorded information on them in Irminsul. The most interesting part about this idea, however, is Hoyo has toyed with the idea of killing or seriously maiming the Sibling. I mean, just look at the original opening scene Genshin Impact once had.
你从极寒中复苏，希望与这世界相处愉快。然而，当你睁眼，却见到妹妹正被锁链刺穿。陌生的神灵自天而降，带走了你唯一的血亲。而你的复苏却被神阻止，陷入充满噩梦的沉眠。
Yo, that's some dark shit, my So in this pseudoscientific theory, the Sibling arrived in Teyvat shortly after the Second War, died to create the Gnosis in conjunction with the Primordial One, was reborn in Teyvat, left Teyvat to return to the Sibling, they then lived on their planet until it died, they then started traveling to different worlds together until they coincidentally one day returned to Teyvat during the summon, into which the Sibling plays dumb the entire time not mentioning a word of this to their twin, saw what would happen to the world in their absence, and decided Celestia needed to go. I mean, look, it's a fun theory. Ain't no way in hell it's true, but it's fun as fuck. Another answer for the identity could, however, just be someone we don't know the identity of. which is the most probable answer, but it still wouldn't surprise me if it really was someone related to the Traveler in some way, but who knows.